Okay, so I have an older 4th generation match here today. Not really sure why, but I guess I was just feeling kind of nostalgic, and basically I wanted to just do a few Heart Gold battles. Anyway, he's going to lead off with an Ambipom. Surprisingly good lead in OU, even though it is a UU Pokemon. And I don't want to take that fake out on my Starmie, so I'm going to switch directly to my Jirachi. And this is a Scarf Jirachi, it's my Revenge Killer, so I should be able to outspeed him and 2-hit KO with a Scarf Iron Head. I initially thought about U-turn because he should have predicted the Iron Head on a possible Scarf and switched out, but I guess he didn't. He goes for a U-turn, and unfortunately I don't get the 60% Iron Head flinch rate, and he's going to go out to his Swampert while I'm locked into Iron Head, so I'm going to be forced to switch out, of course. And I'm just going to go into Shaman, and I actually switch into an Earthquake. I was pretty sure that he was going to set up Stealth Rock, but I guess either he doesn't have it, or he just wanted to attack right away. Not really sure, but Stealth Rock would have been a lot worse for me. Anyway, he's going to switch out of his Swampert and go to Blissey. I went for an Earth Power here because I was pretty sure that Swampert wouldn't be staying in on a Shaman, so I just decided to use Earth Power, hoping to catch something like Heatran or maybe an Infernape on the switch. And he actually goes into a Blissey, which isn't too bad for this set, because as you can see, I'm running max HP, and I actually do have a Leech Seed set running here. So I'm pretty much able to use Blissey as a setup bait, really, as well as a recovery source. Pretty much the Shaman that I used in my original team building video, if anyone still remembers that. So he's going to switch into Gengar, and of course that gets the Leech Seed damage, so he's going to switch out into Heatran again. I'm kind of wondering why he didn't go into Heatran directly. I'm not sure if he predicted my Earth Power or not, but not really sure there. So he goes into Hidden Power Ice, as you can see, because he didn't get the Flash Fire boost. And I just switch into my own Heatran. I am running Shuka, an especially defensive set, so that means I'm not really going to be able to be KO'd by his Earth Power. And I'm just going to set up Rocks again as he goes into Blissey. This team doesn't do that well against Blissey because I only have one physical attacker being Jirachi, although Mixed Gengar definitely helps out. And I actually make a really bad play by going to Jirachi. I mean, I really know that Blissey always carries Thunder Wave. I think I must have been asleep or something. I'm not really sure why I switched in my Jirachi. But he's going to go back into his Heatran. And I'm actually going to go to Suicune this time because since I switched out Heatran last time, I'm pretty sure that he was going to go for Earth Power on the switch. And Suicune should have taken that pretty well, except that he crits me. So it does a little bit more than it should have. And it actually is going to be a Scarftran based on the way he's playing it, because he switched out of Heatran last time, so I'm pretty sure that it is Scarfed, because he's pretty much just using one move and switching out after that. So he's going to go into Blissey now, and I go for a Shadow Ball, hoping to catch his Gengar in case he wanted to pivot into a Focus Blast. I really didn't think he would use Blissey to switch directly into a Focus Blast, so I'm actually going to reveal Explosion at this point. And he switched in his Blissey to a Shadow Ball and got the Leftovers recovery, but I am EV'd with a few attack EVs, so I am able to one-hit KO the standard Blissey with Explosion. So this is pretty much my main way of dealing with stall. Some people say it's pretty unreliable, but it's been okay in my experience, especially on Wi-Fi. And with Blissey out of the picture, I'm going to have a lot easier of a time dealing with his team, because the majority of my team is special attackers, and Blissey was pretty much the only thing he had to deal with most of the threats I had. So I'm going to go back into Heatran, and I know that Ambipom usually has low kick, but I can definitely survive that, especially with the extra HP I'm running. So I'm just going to go for an Earth Power here in case he decides to switch in his own Heatran. Since he doesn't have Shuka because it's a Scarf variant, I should be able to one-hit KO it. And he's going to go back into his Swampert, but I'm actually going to reveal Will-O-Wisp at this point. I usually used to run Explosion on most of my Heatran sets, but Will-O-Wisp has actually been really useful for catching stuff like Swampert, Tyranitar, Gyarados on the switch, sometimes even Scarf Flygon. So he goes for a Toxic over prediction. Not really sure why, even though it doesn't really affect Heatran. And even if he does catch Shaman with Toxic, it's not really going to matter because I do have Natural Cure, of course. So he goes for a second Toxic on the switch, and of course it misses, but it doesn't really matter too much because, as I've said, I do have Natural Cure, so Toxic really wouldn't be that much of a problem anyway. And now he's going to go for Ice Beam, and I do set up a Leech Seed in case he decided to switch. Even if he doesn't switch, I wanted to pretty much set up a Leech Seed so I could provide some recovery, and maybe go to Suicune, since even if he went for an Earthquake or something, I'd be able to survive that pretty well since he's burned. And pretty much I just wanted to have Suicune recover some more. So I'm going to switch to Suicune at this point, and he's going to switch out of his Swampert and go to his Gengar. And I actually have to be kind of careful around this Gengar because my team doesn't really deal too well with it, especially since Jirachi's paralyzed now. So I pretty much switched to Jirachi at this point just to fodder it. Even if he was a sub-split variant, I should be able to survive one Shadow Ball and break his sub at least. So he actually reveals Thunderbolt. I'm not really sure if he's running a mix set with Explosion like I am, but Thunderbolt definitely would have KO'd Suicune at that point. So I'm pretty glad that I was able to keep Suicune because I probably need it in case I need to switch into Fire Blast. Starmie's a little bit frail for that purpose. So I'm actually going to go for a Thunderbolt instead of a Hydro Pump, which is pretty obvious. And he actually reveals Scizor at this point. I'm going to get a crit here. I don't know if it makes up for that Earth Power crit earlier because I actually one-hit KO his Scizor. And I'm not exactly sure which set he was running either. Probably going to be like Swords Dance or something because he hasn't revealed it until relatively late in the game. But I suppose it could have been Scarf or something, in which case it definitely wouldn't have been able to trap me and KO me. So he's going to go back into his Ambipom. It seems that he doesn't have low kicks, so Heatran is going to be a pretty safe switch in. Seems like the only thing he has is normal attacks, but he actually goes for a Pursuit at this point. I'm not really sure if he had a stronger normal stab except for Fake Out, but for some reason he decides to use Pursuit instead. And of course that does pretty much nothing, so I'm going to be able to finish him off with Flamethrower. He's going to go into his own Heatran now, and he actually makes a pretty big over-prediction by going for Fire Blast, thinking I was going to switch out from the possible Earth Power, but he's kind of making a dangerous assumption because he thinks that I don't have Shuka or something, and I actually do, so even if he did decide to use Earth Power, I should be able to survive and KO back with my own Earth Power, especially since my EVs are... I've got a lot in special bulk, so I should be able to survive it pretty easily. And I'm just going to sacrifice my own Heatran right now. No point really in switching around because whatever I send in will probably be taking a lot of damage as well. And I don't really need Heatran for the rest of this game, so I should be able to wrap it up with just Starmie. So he's going to take that Life Orb Recoil. I'm not really sure which set he was running, but it definitely has Thunderbolt and presumably Shadow Ball and Focus Blast, of course. So I'm just going to go for Ice Beam because Hydro Pump would be pretty risky if it missed, because that means he would be able to KO me the next turn. So he's going to send out Swampert now, and of course I'm going to be able to outspeed it and KO it with Hydro Pump. Even if he managed to survive an attack or he had more HP, I would have been able to KO since he's burned anyway. Okay, so that is going to wrap up the game. Also, one quick extra before I go. If you're interested in trying out this team in a 4th gen Wi-Fi match, I actually have posted an RMT of this team with all the details on Smogon, so just check out the description below if you're interested in that, and that's basically it. See ya.